Well, welcome to Codevember. What is it? Day 18? Day 18, 2016. So let's get started. We are going to be using Elm O.18 again today. And what I have in mind is trying to do like a sunset silhouette using Canvas again. So let's give that a try. Let's get our editor up. And let me make sure I have the right version of Elm installed. Great. And we are going to Elm package install fncz/Elm graphics. And I'm going to look up the docs for that because I want to get a gradient up, which I haven't actually used before. Alright, so we have gradient in here, and we can fill a shape with a gradient. And gradients are part of the color package. Okay, so let's see if we can get this up to start with. Just a nice rectangle filled with a gradient, and we will go from there. New file. Okay, main.elm. And we're going to import, let's see, we need color, we need collage, if I can spell that right. We need HTML, and we need element. So our main, for now, is going to be in HTML. And we need to expose that. And we are going to make a rectangle of our standard 750 by 500, and we will collage dot gradient. Takes a shape and gives a form. Okay. And then we will turn this into an element, and then we will turn the element into HTML. And we need to fill in our gradient here. So let's figure out how to make this. Let's see this example. Okay, that example doesn't exist anymore. Takes a start and end point, and then a series of color stops. Okay, so let's try this out. And this is going to be color.linear. And let's just make a gradient that goes from red to black to start with. So this takes a start point, which I'm not sure exactly what units this is supposed to be in, if it's in pixels or percentage. And then it'll take a list of stop points. So we'll have, I'm assuming this goes from 0 to 1. So let's have color.red, and at 1 we'll have color.black. Okay. So, this linter package doesn't exactly tell me which line number we're having a problem with, so I'm going to make from the command line. Okay, so the last line is the problem. Right, and collage.collage takes a list of forms, not a single form. So I'm going to take this and stick it in a list, square brackets. Okay, so that looks happy. Let's start up Elm Reactor and open up our preview window. All right. So we have an interesting gradient, I guess. I see. So these stop points are percentages along a path, and then this line, these 2 points give the location of the path. So I want this to start at the top of the screen, which is -250, and go to the bottom of the screen, which is +250. There we go. Okay. Cool. So that makes sense. So let's pick out our initial gradient color. And I'm going to use HSL for this. So the hue, and let's see, I'm going to bring up the HSL picker. So I want the top of the gradient to be like a blue. So how about this one? That's 191, and that needs to be specified in degrees. Then our saturation is 1.0, and the lightness is 0.33. And the second color we want is going to be like an orangish. How about this one? So this will be 29 and 0.92 and 0.49. Okay, cool. And this is backwards, so I want to just flip those around. Cool. So let's see. The next thing I want to do before we get our silhouettes up is animate this gradient. So let's extract this to a function. We'll call this sunset. And this is a collaged form. And this takes a width and a height. And that'll go here. And let's see. Oops, I forgot my arrow. There we go. Okay. So that still works. So let's see. I want to do an animation. So we will take in a t value, which will be a float. And let's see, I guess this will just be a value from 0 to 1. And we can decide how to animate it on the outside. And let's see. So let's put 0.5 in here. And I want to use the color mixing library, which we've used before for this. And let me grab the name of it. Elm package install this. And we'll start up Elm Reactor again. All right, and we have in here this mix function, and it takes a factor. So I'm hoping if we use that with a factor of 1, that'll completely replace the color. So let's define our blue here, our orange here, Then we're also going to have a red and we're going to have a black. And I think that one will be fine like that. Let's just try using color.red for our red for the moment. And then we'll use color.mixing.mix and a percentage opacity mix two colors. Okay, and it doesn't say which color is which there, so we'll just have to experiment. So we'll use the percent as our factor, and we'll go from blue to black for the top color. And the bottom of our gradient, we will go from orange to red. And we need to import color.mixing. Okay, so there it is halfway, and if we go all the way to 1.0, that's backwards. Okay, so let's flip these. So I guess really this looks like this is meant to be used with pipelines. So we start with blue and orange, and we will pipe them to mix with black and red. Let's try that. Okay, so there it is at 1.0. Here it is halfway, and here it is at the starting state. Cool. All right, so let's set this up to actually animate. So I'm going to define my model here. And that'll be a record, and we'll have our time time is a float, and we'll have our initial model with time equal to 0, and then we're going to have a message type, and we'll have one called tick, which will take a time value, and then we'll have our update function, which is going to take a message, a model, and return a model, and a new command. And when we get the tick message, we will update our model, and we have no command to run in that case. And that's our update. Okay, we need to import time. And we need a type signature on here. Then this becomes our view. It's going to take a model and give that back. Let's see. And then let's do this. Let's use our model.time divided by 1,000. So that'll take 1 second to transition. And then our program, and actually I want to use the animation frame diffs here. So we're going to change this to add the delta each time. And then our program is going to be a program with no flags using our model and message types. And we have html.program in it equals our initial model and no commands. Subscriptions equals animation frame dot diffs, and that'll create our tick message. And our update function we have defined above, and our view function we have defined above also. Okay, and then we need to import animation frames. or the animation frame module. And I think we need to install it too. Yep, there's no module called animation frame. So this is in ElmLive animation frame. Hey Wandable, welcome to the chat. How's your day going? Yeah, there we go. Okay, and let's slow this down too. And maybe even more. Cool. That seems good. What we can also do is end our subscription after we get past a certain point. So let's put that logic in here also. We'll say if model.time is greater than or equal to 10,000, then sub.none, else. And actually I kind of like flipping this around. So let's say if it's less than 1,000, we'll do that animation frame and request that. Otherwise we will end the subscription. And as soon as it gets to red, we should see this counter in the corner stop. Yep, cool. So that ended the subscription and stops updating our model continuously once it gets to that point. So that seems good. So let's add our silhouettes now. So let's see, I'm going to add this to our view, and I'll call this beach. And we'll stick this, let's see, I guess right here. This is going to be a collage form. And we're going to have a bunch of things in here. So this will be a collage.group. All right. So let's see. I mainly just want kind of a shoreline and then maybe kind of a palm tree shape on the side. So let's see if we can do that. In an earlier day, we made this curve function that made quadratic Bezier curves. So I want to grab that code from the other day. Let's see. I think that was in day 13. Yeah, in this shapes file. Yeah, cool. I'm just going to copy this file over since it was from a ElmO.17 project. And let's see. And this was using ranges, so we need to convert this to useless.range in ElmO.18. And let's see, n needs to be an int now for making ranges, and then that means we'll have to float it here when we divide. And I guess we have to float the eyes also. Okay, so that looks like it's compiling. Just going to rename it here. So this was just using a formula that we grabbed off of a Stack Overflow page on how to create Bezier curves. And we basically give it a start point, an endpoint and a control point to specify the curve. And then we also tell it here how many segments to subdivide into. So let's use this and build ourselves some polygons and fill them in. So let's see. So I'm going to use collage.path, I think is what it was called. Actually, let me go back to the documentation. In Elm Graphics, path. Okay, so that just takes a list of floats and gives us a path. And then we can, oh, we don't want to make a path. We actually want to make a polygon. Yeah, here we go. So we want to use this polygon, give it a list of points, and then we can fill it. Polygon. Okay, so let's try making just a rectangle first. So this is going to be our X. Our width of the whole scene is 750. So 375 is going to be our X position. And for Y, let's say down from the center, about 150. So that'll be our first point. Then we'll run to the right side. Then we'll go farther down to 250. And then we will run back to the left side. And then we need to fill this, collage.filled with color.black. And this needs to go in here attached to the polygon. Okay. And we need to restart ElmReactor. And okay, so I got my Y position direction confused, which I keep doing, so I guess it's the opposite of what I expect. Okay, so we have a black section along the bottom, and actually I'm going to make this yellow temporarily while we're debugging it, just so we can see this a bit more cleanly. So I want to use the Bezier curve and pull this top line to be more of an arc going up. So to do that, I want to take these first 2 points and let's see. So first let's refactor this so that we have a list of lists. And we will add them together. Actually, we don't need to do that. Let's just refactor it this way. I'll put parens around here and there. And then this comma goes away, and then we can add the 2 lists together. Okay, so we've separated them into 2 separate pieces. So now I want to replace this top segment with our curve. So we need to import this shapes module that we copied from our other project, which will give us a list of points. And now we can replace this piece with shapes.curve, and it's going to go from our starting point. Then we'll have our control point, and then we'll have our end point, and then we'll tell it how many pieces to divide into. So then we need to define our control point. So this will be, I think, to start, -375, 0. Or, whoops, I got that backwards. Our x is going to be 0, and our y will be -150. Okay, so if I did that right, we should still see the same thing still. Yep, All right, and now if we pull this up, maybe up to 0, we should see the curve go up. Yeah, all right. And I'm going to pull this to the left. And maybe bring it down a bit. Okay. And then let's increase this number of subdivisions so it looks a little smoother. Cool. And now we can make it black. And actually I want to make that a little less steep. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So next, I just want to do a similar thing, I guess, and build up a palm tree on the side. So let's make our polygon. And I'm going to start right off the bat in dividing it into 2 pieces. And then we will fill it with yellow for the moment. And then let's get our points in here. So the first point is going to be x, maybe 200, and y is negative 170. The second point is then going to be at the top of the tree on the left side of the tree. So that'll be x, let's see, a little more to the right, 230, and y is positive, I guess, 200. And then our next point will move to the right a bit, x 250, and then our last point will move back down, so 250 comma negative 170. Okay. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good start. So I just want to curve both of these a little bit. So I'm going to replace this first one with a curve. And we'll start with our start point. We'll need a control point and our next point, and then we'll subdivide it into 30, I guess. And then our control point, I want to be a little bit to the right of the center and less than halfway up. So that's going to be maybe 250 comma negative 50. Let's see how that looks. All right, decent. Let's move it down farther. And let's move it to the left a little bit more. Yeah, okay, that seems all right. And I'd also like to adjust the top. So let's make this like 190, kind of tilt the top part. There we go. And then let's replace the second part of this with a curve. And our control point for this one is going to be, let's see, I guess we're also going to bring it in just a little bit. And that'll be x 240 and y maybe around 0. And we'll also subdivide into 30 pieces. Yeah, okay, that looks decent. Let's see how it looks when we make it black. Cool. So I'm pretty happy with that. What I want to do finally is add a few palm tree leaves onto there, and that is going to finish it up for today. So we're going to do one more polygon, and we are going to fill this with yellow again for the moment, just while we're debugging this. And we're going to have two curves. I think I'll make this be a curve straight off the bat. So our starting point, I'm going to start near the top of the tree. So that was this point. And maybe bring that to the left a little bit. And then our final point, I'll do the control point in a minute. Our final point is going to be farther out to the left. So maybe like 180. And Y is going to be farther to the center. So that'll be maybe also 180. And 30 for that. And then we're going to add to that, basically going the opposite direction, and just with a different control point. So let's fill these in. So about halfway between these two, X is 200. And for this one, Y, we want to be farther, so maybe 200 also for Y, and this one it should be lower. Okay, so let's see how that worked out. Oh, pretty good actually, except I'm realizing these maybe should both curve the same direction. And I want it a lot larger, so we need to pull this 180, 180 point out by a lot. So this should maybe be 100. Let's see where that lands. Yeah, maybe even farther. Oops. Let's try 80. And Y, I want to bring it down farther as well. Yeah, I think we can go even bigger than that. So 30 and 150. And the 150, let's just try 50. Yeah, okay, that's kind of where I want it. So now we need to fix these control points. And, oh, actually, I bet I can just measure this on my screen if I make a new window up here. So let's try this. So from here, I want the control point to be about here. That's 450 by 67. And we need to account for the coordinate system on here. So that's 450 minus 375 and negative 250 plus 67. Whoops, I got that backwards. Yeah, there we go. And let's use a similar value for here, except we want it to be kind of in and to the right. So maybe 470 and Oh, whoops, that's the wrong way. 80, and adding to this, oh, that was the right way. I was just thinking the wrong direction. Yeah, okay. So let's pull this one out a little more. Okay, and let's see how that looks turned black. Cool. So let's add a couple more of these. So this next one is going to be similar, except this point is going to move. So from here, let's move it in by, let's see, so we're going to move it in by about 80 and down by about 40. So in, that's going to add to this, so 110, and down by 40, that'll be there. Nice. And we also want to move the starting point by a little bit. So that'll go down by maybe 10, and to the right by a tiny amount, 5. And then our control points need to move also. Let's see, I'm just going to inline this. 430 minus 375 is 55. Make sure I didn't mess that up. Cool. And 470 minus 375 is 95. 250 minus 67, 183. And this should be 163. Okay. So then we want to move these in the second one farther to the right. So maybe 75 and 115. And farther down. And 50. Cool. So let's add one more on here, and that'll wrap it up for today. So let's see. I want this point to be, let's see, let's actually start from our first one again. And I want the outer point to be higher up. And actually, let's measure this as well. So I want this point to be about here. So that's 23 in and 107 up. So 23 in, that makes this 53, and 107 up, that makes this 157. Okay. Then we can also move the inner point by a small amount. We'll also move this in by, let's say, 7 and 190. We'll move this up to 202. Okay, and then our control points. Need to be higher, first of all. And farther to the right by a good amount. So maybe 90 and 130. And I think a lot higher than that still. And the second one maybe not as high. Cool. All right. Well, that's going to be it for today. I just wanted to do a short little sketch before I take off for the evening. So thanks for tuning in, and let me know if you make any cool Codevember projects. I would love to see them. So I will see you all next time. Have a great night.